There we go. Did
I'm
everyone
recording.
click?
Yeah.
The second we start recording, I just hear that fan word. Alright.
Whose fan was that?
I think it's John. From reviewing the audio files, he's the offender.
You're the one who has a fan.
Yeah. Alright. Jono, do you want to
think it's
introduce
just-
us?
My laptop cooling system. Anyway, yeah, so this is the final episode of Quad-Trilogy.
Yeah.
Time for the final film in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's the Return of the King, or as I miscalled it the other day, the Revenge of the King. The crossover we needed between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, where Aragorn just starts killing younglings. Yeah, so don't really know anything much behind the actual filming or the rest of it. I mean,
They fucking just made a film, right? That's how
Yeah,
it goes normally.
They shot all three across the same 2-year shooting period, I think. I think that's how it worked. From in the late 90s, and edited them, released them within a year of each other, right? So Two Towers was 2002, and this was 2003, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it won a bunch of Oscars.
I think it's tied with maybe Ben-Hur and Titanic as being the three films that have won the most Oscars. I think it's like 13 or something like that.
Yeah, it won a lot of Oscars.
Yeah, it did.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I was gonna say fucking Quad-Trilogy is almost as long as the extended edition of this film.
The extended edition of this film adds in, I think, 50 minutes of new scenes and extended scenes, and an extra half hour of credits. So you get your money's worth with it. I mean, well, yeah, you get your time in with it. Yeah, it's the one that has the most added by the in terms of time by the extended edition.
Yeah, so basically what happened to me and Ethan is we've both seen this film a lot of times, but we're like, we should probably rewatch it for the podcast. And we just... So Lord of the Rings, it used to be on Amazon Prime, then it was on Netflix. It's now on nothing. So we're like, okay, we'll watch it illegally. But the only version that was accessible was the extended version. So we watched it, and it was not good. Yeah, so I hope we can get into talking about the extended version after we've kind of talked about just the film in general, because that extended version, man, it's no good.
Yeah, and you actually stayed in the room the whole time, and I watched everything, and I disappeared for the first hours to make my tomato sauce.
Yeah.
That's quite so I watched the extended edition for the first time when watching this, and I think it's just how much I like Lord of the Rings that I didn't really get bored for any moment. I just sat on my sofa enjoying it, having fun. Anyway, we'll get into that.
Yeah. So what do you like about Return of the King, Johnny? Talk to us about it.
I mean, it's just more Lord of the Rings. I don't know. It's quite a fun blend of a very simple, I guess, sort of hero's journey and these sorts of triumphant moments and very I don't know, not necessarily interesting conflicts, but well sort of visualized conflicts. And I think as well, it is just part of how much these are part of my childhood, which is weird considering I think with each of the films, I think I've only seen each of them once, ages ago. So they're kind of in a veil where I can't fully remember. But for as long as I can remember, I've been playing just a whole host of Lord of the Rings games. One of my favourite ones is for the Game Boy Advanced, the Return of the King game. And so it's sort of a... No, it's very familiar, all the sort of, fighting in Minas Tirith, that sort of impressive set piece there. And just all the kind of quirky lines, I think, as well. There's a kind of humour to it that's works quite well in moments. In other moments that are banished into the extended edition, perhaps
All the
not so
Gimli
well.
stuff.
All the Gimli stuff can, that's... I'm vaguely glad I've seen what they cut there, but I am very glad they cut that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. I just like it.
Why do you think it's
I mean, it
better
is
than the other two?
payoff to a lot of what's been building over the previous two films. So it starts with I'd say the biggest pog moment early on is with the beacons being lit, which kind of wraps up nicely, or
Light the beacons.
the whole like Rohan thing from the last film. And then it just keeps going with other cool things that are like paying off the rest of the second and first films, like setup basically. So when what's his name, fucking Boromir's dead, right or Faramir,
Yep.
fucking I don't know names.
Boromir dies, and we get to see Dan Cooper.
Yeah Denethor, our boy, God. I did ask Xander, right, who's my roommate, who also is one of the target audience members for this podcast, because they went to the same sixth form, grew up in the same place. Hey, do you think Denethor looks like Dan? He totally sees it. So it's not just me. I'm not just blind.
I don't see it.
You
Me
don't
and Harry
see it.
the other day tried to remember the origin
You don't see it.
of Dan Cooper as Denethor, and I honestly don't think it was anything to do with how he looked. I think it was just because one day we saw him eating cherry tomatoes. Or something like that.
It absolutely is not that. It is because I think they look like fucking mirror images.
So
Not most
you
of the
came up with
time.
it?
I'm pretty sure. Unless any of you also think that.
Tony,
But
remember
it's-
when that
Yeah,
M&M got
vaguely
thrown
on.
across the room?
No, it was a minstrel, Harry.
Oh,
I wouldn't have done it for an
I
M&M.
remember.
Oh yeah, okay. So in I want to say 6.7, like a minstrel got thrown across the room. I was like totally non-reacted, nonplussed for like half a second, and then like gremlin like leaped towards it, like scrambled and grabbed it, ate it, and then went back into a sitting position and just looked at Harry.
Because I was next. Yeah, because I was like on your left, and like it went past me, so you like jumped over me to grab it.
Yeah, but it was great for me because I was like, I think sat in the corner of the room, so I saw the whole thing unfold, and I got a great panning shot from it as well.
Right.
Okay.
Should we give this film a score?
Yeah.
I think back to Denethor. The end. Okay. Okay. I'll be honest. This has been the latest anyone's ever finished a Mediate thing, because
Yeah, I'm happy with
I just fucking finished the film just now. So yeah, that took forever. Basically, Dan just walked in one time with like the frown that looks exactly like fucking the frown of Denethor's face. He just had that grub to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had that frown. I'm like, that's exactly the same frown.
Yeah.
Man, I hope this is the
There
one
was
episode
there was
Dan
a forehead
doesn't watch.
similarity as well between
Yeah,
the two.
I wasn't going to say that because that's a bit mean, but I was
Probably
like,
stop insulting Dan.
Yeah, we don't
we're going to
wanna
lose
push away our only
100% of our,
listener.
of our listener base in one episode.
Not to make this podcast just laughing at bad scenes from the extended edition, but Johnny, that scene where Boromir comes to
Oh my
Denethor
God.
as a vision
That is so funny.
It's so bad.
So funny. And Sean Bean's just got this massive grin across his face as he walks
Yeah, and he like
towards
strides towards the camera before vanishing.
Jonathan, why do you think Return of the King is better than the first two films?
Which it isn't. It's definitely the worst one. Why did the Academy think it as well?
I
I think
mean,
it's the one that has stood out to me the most, really. I think when, as I said, like I watched all three of these films sort of before, I was capable of memorizing anything. So they're like a weird half-remembered veil. But one of the things I remember the most distinctively is Pippin singing as Faramir goes to retake Osgiliath. I don't know. I might look back on it now a bit and change it after having watched the extended edition of Two Towers, because some of the two big things added in that sort of massively improve it. It has sort of more emotional stuff than Revenge of the King ends up having. But in terms of, I don't know, I think as a rough thing, if it comes down to Helm's Deep, where everything is sort of an unintelligible grey, to like the Minas Tirith battle, like I don't know, there just seems to be more for me in Revenge of the King.
So
King.
can I just say about the Helm's Deep thing? I think my feeling with Helm's Deep is that the darkness, it kind of hides the visual effects quite well. So like often there's like a practical element being on display, and then they'll go to a CG shot and it will kind of be hidden. Whereas Minas Tirith, taking place in the middle of the day, it really shows its age. Some of those creatures.
Yeah.
That
I mean, it's no Avengers Endgame, right? You know, but I think
even
a
then,
lot
that's
of
kind
those,
of
a lot of those
that's
effects.
kind of night. That's not like middle of the day, like sunlight, like beaming down.
I
on
was
these
expecting much worse, really. From
Yeah, I think a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm
holds
with
up.
Jonathan.
There's nothing that's as
Really
bad
well.
as Treebeard, I'll be honest. Apart from maybe
Yeah.
a couple troll close-ups, I don't fucking know.
I
I
don't know.
think the visual effects are quite well done.
I think when there's so many of these things, like it's a bit like the prequels problem, where they just become like plasticky in the way that they move and the way that objects interact with them. And I think Helm's Deep has a real visceral kind of feel to it with the rain, the metal.
It's very muddy.
Yeah, for me, Helm's Deep feel like at no point am I ever not thinking this is actually happening. Whereas Minas Tirith is more like a video game for me anyway, because they kind of push the scale so far along from Helm's Deep. Also, it's quite hard to follow, and the fact that it gets wrapped up in it's basically a very similar way to Helm's Deep, but it's a bit stupider. We're just like a sea of ghosts, like swarming. It kind of, I don't know. For me, Minas Tirith doesn't work as well, and it goes on for far too long as well. Personally.
Yeah, we had the conversation about the Ghost Army, didn't we, after we finished watching it? And I can't remember what you said, but I feel like it's a very convenient way to wrap up that battle. Because you have this fantastic moment where Gondor arrives. Sorry, no, Rohan arrives to call a...
Oh, God. I love that might be my favourite moment in the film. When he goes like, Death! Death! And then like hits all their spears for like way too long. That's such a great speech. Yeah. I love that character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of like the ghost stuff because it kind of cements Aragorn as like the fucking king, you know.
Yeah, I think the scene where
It's
he
like
goes
a-
to get the ghost is pretty good, and the scene where the ghosts arrive on the boats are good. Not the scene where the ghosts get the boat on the extended edition, which is awful. But they steal it
Fucking
from some
love that
Cockney
scene.
pirates. You and whose army?
Yeah.
No,
All the
that's a
fucking
bad
ghosts
scene.
appear.
But
Right, well,
I think
probably
it's just
saw
when
it
it's the
last when I was
swarm
like
of ghosts.
11, so I don't know.
God. Yeah. But anyway, Minas Tirith. It's pretty good.
I mean, I think Minas Tirith is just a fucking sick place, though. Like the internal set of like the city interior, you know, where it's all that fucking white and shit and all that stone, and the fact that just the shape of the city is really cool. Like, damn,
Well,
that's
the-
cool.
Dan Cooper. It's got everything.
The score associated with Minas Tirith as well is, in my mind, the best piece of music in the Lord of the Rings films. Just the theme of Minas Tirith.
See, I prefer the
Just
Rohan
love it.
theme. I love that Riders of Rohan, all that stuff. That kind of, I don't know. I think I do really like the beacon line scene, which you've already mentioned. I think Minas Tirith's got some good stuff. I love how obviously alive Faramir is. Like he's like shaking around. Like it's so clear that he's alive. It's great.
Everyone else should just fucking go along with it. Fair enough.
But it kind of works for a while though, because you feel that Denethor feels his power crumbling beneath him, so he wants to convince himself that he's got nothing left. But then all of that is ruined because when Faramir starts to wake up, you do realise, oh wait, he genuinely thought his son was dead, even though he was moving quite a bit and he never checked his pulse or anything like that.
I can't tell which version of the film this was in. I think it's in both, but it's the bit before they can meet him where Gandalf's like, don't mention this, and and also don't mention this. And then they talk to him, and the first 3 things he says are the things that Gandalf said not to mention.
Yeah. I think that was in my version.
It's the moment I like as well, where just Pippin like swears himself to Denethor, and then Denethor just says the next line, proves that he's batshit, and the look on Pippin's face is just like, "Fuck, I should not have done that." I don't know. There's a lot of fun, just little reactions to things. I think it's, I don't know.
I like Pippin in this film.
Yeah, I think.
Wait, Tony, as someone who's just recently watched the theatrical version, where does the ball come from?
Which ball?
The ball.
Oh, they find it in the water.
That's what I told you.
Yeah.
That is exactly
Because
what I told you.
in the extended version, Saruman's holding it and like says like, "Oh, this is very important," and then he drops it after he gets stabbed. I guess because he's not in the theatrical version, they just find the ball.
Yeah, they just pick up the ball. It's in the water. I didn't even fucking forget. I totally forgot that we never see Saruman again.
The scene in which Saruman dies, I really didn't like. There's so much exposition, and it's so heavily handedly setting up a lot of the conflict. It's like reminding the audience of every character's arc. Like, you will never be the return of the king. It's like so much of that dialogue. And it's like, I know people like Tolkien and world building, but like for me, that stuff doesn't interest me. So it's just giving you like exposition of like place names that kind of never really come up again in the actual film. I don't like that
quite
scene.
like it because it's like Saruman's power comes more from him just being deceptive and lying and manipulating people. And so I think it's something that is more done in the books. But this is sort of the scene of where it all falls down for him because he can't lie to these people individually. They're all here. So when he's trying to like put them at each other's throats, they're just like, nah. It's a pleasing moment where he's completely overthrown, basically. And I also just enjoy as Gandalf is riding up to Treebeard, and Treebeard is just like, young Gandalf, just absolute power move.
It's good.
That's quite funny.
Yeah, Pippin stuff's good. I just want to also the bit where he sings the song. It's really good for the first couple of shots when it's just a close up on his face. But then the third shot is like a steady cam rotation, and he's like got a little smile on his face in the mid shot. And the way it's lit and shot, it looks like a music video. And because it's like montage of like a really emotional moment, it kind of is a tight. It's like such a minor complaint.
His voice has been slightly altered.
Yeah, he's like,
well.
it is the David Brent music video from The Office, just for one shot. But yeah. Lord of the Rings is one of those things where there are so many kind of small like moments that have become memes. So that Star Wars thing, you got to respect the strength of this to go beyond the meme and also be like a genuinely good film.
I think a great part of this film is there's like a segment right towards the end where it's just like back to back epic one-liners, like fucking you get I think you get like Aragorn's speech right at the end where he says there will be a day when the strength of men fails, but it is not this day. Then you get fucking Gimli saying to Legolas, the whole elf speech thing, right? The whole I could never thought I'd die side by side with an elf. How about with a friend? And then you fucking get I can't carry the ring, Frodo, but I can carry you, which is, and that's the fucking triple wombo combo.
Wait, Tony, you're forgetting the best 3 lines. It's share the load, the load.
I don't even fucking remember the share the load.
Oh, it's the bit where so it's when they're going up the stairs.
Okay.
And Gollum says to Frodo like he's gonna ask for the ring, and Sam just says share the load. And it just like you get a close up on him going the load, which is one of the best moments.
Interesting. Yeah, I also think the whole Gollum and Frodo and Sam stuff is a lot better in this one than it was in the second one.
Really?
In the second one I was like, this is kind of dragging. I'll be honest,
No,
but in this
really
one I'm
dislike
like,
Frodo in this one.
I kind of like that it's more coming to a close in this one.
But Frodo seems to make even more stupid decisions in this one than he does in the previous films. Like pushing Sam away when Gollum is obviously the one who.
I kind of understand why he's siding with Gollum though, because it's the fucking One Ring, right? And he and Gollum both Gollum is using the fact that Frodo knows that he knows what it's like to fucking have the ring, and he's like, bro, doesn't it fucking suck that everyone tries to take that ring from you? Am I right? Wink, wink, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah,
Lying,
I understand that, but I still,
but you know what I'm saying.
I still feel like, from an audience perspective, Sam is the one who just comes and bails Frodo out every time he does something stupid, or every time he gets himself stuck in a sticky situation. Every time he's close to dying, it's Sam who has to bail him out. And by the end of the film, gets no recognition. It's all about Frodo, and Frodo who destroyed the ring, and that always frustrated me so much about these three films. Because Sam's the hero, it's not Frodo at all.
I mean, he's the one who writes the fucking book at the end. He gets to tell the story however he wants.
Yeah, he's the one, and I think, well, it is in Two Towers, isn't it? When is it Two Towers? When they're having that little talk of it, it's Sam saying how they'll tell the great stories of Frodo, and then Frodo turns around and goes, "Oh no, they shall tell the great stories of Sam."
Samwise the Brave.
Yeah, so there's still that sort of thing, but in terms of Frodo kind of pushing Sam away in this one, it's a bit the corruption of the ring, sort of, worrying him, but it's also stems from his feeling that Gollum has to be redeemable, otherwise he, as another ring bearer, cannot be redeemed as well. Like, it's more of the theme in the Two Towers, but there's still something that is being carried on in this one of, like, if sort of how closely Frodo and Gollum's sort of journey is tied, basically. So
I don't disagree with you in any way, but it's still very frustrating to watch Frodo's real only friend be pushed away by Frodo over things so silly and trivial, like bread being chucked off a cliff and stuff like that.
I just enjoy that
Crumbs on his jacket.
Sam walks away, goes down most of those stairs, finds the bread, and is like, "Yeah, I knew I didn't fucking eat this."
Yep. Well, I mean, I suppose he can just. I suppose that reassures his resolve, right? It's like,
but I think it's more because at that point he assumes that Gollum's eaten the bread, but seeing the fact that the bread's there means he's basically saying, "Oh, Gollum didn't even eat the bread. He was just trying to split him from Frodo." I think that probably angers him even more and gives him the energy to go back up and save him yet another time in these three films.
That spider cave sequence is really good. It's really tense and suspenseful. I love Gollum's dialogue that's coming from everywhere and the audio. He's going left headphone, right headphone. When he does that song that deliberately doesn't rhyme at the end.
That was really fucking funny.
Yeah, I really like that scene. And the spiders looks great. The fucking, I don't even know what it makes it so scary, but when you get that weird pincer he has and then stabs Frodo, and then he goes all weird. That's probably
it's to do with the silence, right? I mean, it moves so quietly and it moves so kind of swiftly, and I think that's what's terrifying about it, because you don't know where it is. Yeah. It could be anywhere.
Sam's fight with it's great as well. Obviously, Tony will know better because he's seen the theatrical version more recently. But I always enjoyed when they get into Mordor. I really enjoyed that. But they've added a couple of additional scenes in the new version of orcs fighting each other. Tony, I don't know.
There are a couple bits where the orcs turn on each other, right?
Do you have the bit where the orc does the jump kick in the theatrical version?
What jump kick? What do you mean?
So,
kick someone out the window or something?
Okay, yeah. So they have Frodo hostage, and then Sam can get to them because all the orcs have died, and all the orcs die in a big fight. And the big fight starts when he pushes them down. And goes "He tried to knife me, kill him."
Yeah.
After that, Tony, is there a 2-minute fight scene? Where they started beating each other with meat and stuff.
I feel like there was kind of a fight scene. Okay. I mean, I don't think it was that long though.
Just because there's a moment where the orc does a jump kick, which is
someone out the window.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. I think I remember that.
It's very funny. Yeah, I really enjoy the orc content. And then there's a bit where Frodo and Sam dressed up as orcs, get in a parade of orcs, and then they have to do like an orc inspection.
Oh
but
yeah,
that's definitely not in.
Yeah, that was
that's
not
only
in the
extended
theatrical version.
material.
Come on,
Yeah.
you maggots!
Don't you know?
But I do remember that version where they have to start a fight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally that bit in the Super Mario Brothers movie, Johnny, where they're swaying them in the elevator. It's the equivalent of that, but for the orcs. We have two scenes in very quick succession of the orcs just instantly killing each other, which are great.
It's really funny that it contrasts between them as like an unstoppable fighting force whenever they try and take Minas Tirith or whatever the fucking city outside of Minas Tirith is called. What's it called?
Osgiliath.
That's good.
Osgiliath and Ethan.
I think it's
What amuses me, going back to them walking through Mordor, is Sam keeps his pots whilst disguised as an orc.
He does what?
He only chucks them away when they're like, okay, no, this is too heavy. Like he smuggles them through with his orc costume.
What does he keep
Anyway.
again? He cut out for a bit.
His pots and pans.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they're the same color, I guess, as all the other orc metal stuff, right? I suppose. I imagine.
Yeah, but it's just funny that he's like, these are essentials, gotta keep them.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair
Anyway,
enough.
what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say that it's funny when that it has the contrast between them as like an unstoppable fighting force, and the fact that whenever they're at base or just on their own, they will turn on each other at like a moment's notice.
I mean, that's part of the point, is that I think that a lot of the threat from the orcs comes from this sort of kind of lack of culture, really, beyond just mindless violence against sort of anyone. It's probably one of the if the like Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games have any sort of theme, it's sort of exploring how the orcs are fickle. They do just fight each other, especially if they get bored, which they do if they're like, a group of people stationed on the most like backwater fort in all of Mordor, or, just like very much in the reserves. So yeah, it's as much as they have a sort of culture. That's it. The sort of constant violence between the two of them, between all of them. Yeah, it's why it's always sort of amused me with Gothmog's character, because I always assumed that he was just really weak from the way he looked so mushy. So I don't know. I've always liked Gothmog.
is he the one who's got kind of a bludgeoned face?
Yeah, he's the one that leads the assault on Osgiliath and then Minas Tirith, and the one who like sidesteps like massive piece of masonry.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Spits on it like the badass he is. Gothmog Appreciation Society right here.
Yeah. How does he die again? I don't remember that bit.
I think you only see it in the extended edition.
Okay.
I think is it Eoma that takes him out?
Who?
Me and Harry just shrugged our shoulders because we have no clue.
We don't know. There's a couple of like extended edition stuff that's good. So the romance between Faramir and Eowyn kind of comes out of nowhere in the theatrical version.
That's true.
But they make it make a little bit more sense in the extended edition, with like a music video between them.
Another bit is so I think what happens is you see Gothmog and Eowyn fighting. Then the Witch King comes. Witch King gets defeated.
Can we talk about that? Then? That's a great line.
We'll focus on that later.
That's great.
Yeah, and then Eowyn's sort of losing consciousness, and Gothmog is coming to kill her. Eoma comes, finishes off Gothmog, thinks his sister is dead, and just lets out the most sort of anguished yell as he like holds her in his arms. That's probably one of the best things added by the extended edition, is that moment of emotion. Even if it is just like, a few seconds later, just like, she's still alive, but still one of the more powerful moments.
Yeah, are you going to talk about what I think?
The Merry scene. Well, Merry will be a great fighter.
The scene where Theoden gladly accepts Merry's sword 2 scenes later. War is no place for all of it.
Yeah.
He changes his mind with the extended edition.
That was one of the editions I thought was like, it just generally like contradicted itself. Because the whole Merry can't fight thing is like, I do like that stuff. But the scene in which Merry's like specifically asks, can I fight? And he's like, yeah, we'll be glad to have.
Yeah,
that was a bad edition.
I think I like the what's the name of the blonde-haired woman that's part of all the horse fucking dudes.
Eowyn?
That's the one we've been talking about.
Eowyn, yeah. The fact that she has this parallel with Merry, I want to say, who's like, oh man, why can't he fight for the people that he loves? And it's mirroring the fact that she also wants to kick some fucking teeth in.
Yeah. What amuses
pretty fun.
me is so a lot of the Rohan forces are played by female extras because there weren't many people who could ride horse, or not many men who could ride horses in New Zealand, so they had to go to like a sort of like horse riding society that was mostly female. So it's already the Rohan forces are technically mostly made up of women with fake beards.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty fun.
In my canon, it's more than just Eowyn there that's, in disguise.
Yeah, it's true. Fair enough. I do like the little jab that fucking what's his name, some other random horse person says, where they're like, where they laugh at the fact that he wants to fight, and they say, I don't doubt his heart, only the reach of his arm. I think that's quite cheeky.
Yeah. I do think
Give me a little chuckle.
I think those two should end up together. Though. They got some nice moments.
They related. They related.
I mean Mary and Eowyn.
Huh?
I meant Mary and Eowyn.
Oh, okay. I mean, is that allowed?
Yes. So Frodo. Okay, so the main one is Frodo and Sam. It's like a amazing relationship.
Yeah, but
and then you have
from The Hobbit, people shit on the dwarf and the elf. So
yeah, but come on.
I don't know, it's just a bit odd.
And then Pippin and Gandalf.
No, you go mad with power, Harry.
Come on. Let's see. I wouldn't have minded if
read your shipping fanfics.
God, it has 26 endings. It could at least have an ending where they don't just be like, "Oh, Rosie." God, I love how like they don't mention Rosie Cotton for 3 films, and then right at the end, like they're right at the end of their journey, and Sam just brings her up out of nowhere. It's like, oh,
she's
Rosie.
mentioned. You see her at the start, don't you? Right?
Yeah, the very start.
Yeah. So it's a fucking callback.
Come on,
it's Chekhov's Rosie.
His one true love was Frodo.
Rosie.
She's like fucking strawberries and cream. They didn't bring that up for the middle films.
Well, I think it's a sort of reminder in a sense of, I don't know, because I think it's a thing that's always brought up at the start of, I think, Two Towers and Return of the King is why the hobbits like the Shire so much, basically. So it's, I can't remember when it's mentioned in this film, but it's, I don't know, it's part of the reminding of like this idea of tranquility that they're fighting for.
Yeah.
In fairness, if I was from the Shire, I'd miss it a lot if I had to go to Mordor. I don't blame them.
At least they didn't do Saruman taking over.
Oh my god.
Because
so glad.
yeah. So obviously the famous joke about this film is that it just doesn't end. Like it has so many fade to blacks or potential endings before doing another ending, which is like, so you've got like they're like, oh, we're gonna die, and then it fades to black, and then you've got the eagles, and then I think it fades to them in the bed, which is still the funniest scene because it's like 2 minutes long and it's just laughter.
It's just successively more
really
people
like
queued up to come and say hi to Frodo.
And like when Gimli is like clapping, like, oh, it's great. What are you gonna say, Johnny?
There's a bit I really like in that scene because I think it's Aragorn and like Frodo like shouts Aragorn, then it's Legolas. And Frodo just sort of has a moment of panic in his face and says nothing. And then Gimli shows up behind him and he yells Gimli.
Who's this fucking guy?
He just forgets Legolas's name.
I don't blame him. He's been through some shit.
You also get that great moment where they're all coming through the door and like the way it's shot. Merry and Pippin are like the same height as the door frame, and then like Legolas and Gandalf are the same height of the door frame as well. So there's just one shot where they become massive. I really like it.
Okay, so there's in the extended edition of Two Towers, there's a bit where Pippin is drinking from the like water fountain that is supposedly what made the Ents sort of alive and so tall. And
I remember that.
That is that actually does make Pippin taller for a bit, and then Merry drinks some as well. So by the end of the film, they're still Merry is still taller than Pippin, but technically they're taller than they were at the beginning.
All right.
Yeah, I
It's
do
no
like
longer an
that.
error.
That Merry and
It
Pippin
still is
both.
an error, but
Merry and
they
Pippin both have
technically get
like
taller.
both have a fucking like pretty cool character arc. They go from being just fucking rough and tumble, just tricksters. They start the trilogy by just stealing fucking vegetables, and at the end they're fucking like stabbing the Witch King of Angmar and pledging their allegiances to like fucking the two fucking kingdoms. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's
Pretty
interesting because Merry, I think, kills like 4 people in the battle for Minas Tirith that we see. I think Pippin takes out 1, but that's sort of to save Gandalf, and then also his actions save Faramir. So it's sort of interesting, almost there's a change between one that does become more of a warrior and just kind of takes lives, and Pippin, who doesn't really, like, he stays away from the battle for the most part, but saves 2.
Yeah, I do like that they gave them something to do, you know. Whereas before I think they were just like captured, right? They were just sort of comic relief. Although they still do fucking dumb shit. Who is it? One of them just fucking picks up the orb and just looks at it for some reason.
Fool of a took.
Yeah.
One of the best lines.
Gandalf brings up that line again because he says that when they fucking knock the skeleton down the fucking hole, don't they?
Yeah, he just fucking hates Pippin.
God, you got some good lines. You got to show us the meaning of hate, Shadowfax.
Yeah, I love that line. Oh man.
Oh god, yeah.
That's a great
Although it's pretty funny because haste, right? It's a spell in D&D, and whenever I use it, it just fucks up constantly because the way it works is it makes you really fast and it's really good. But when you drop concentration on it, when you end the spell, you are just stunned. And so whenever I've used it, it's lasted like no amount of time, and I've just been stunned. And so I'm like, whenever we mention haste, you mean like, oh, haste? Don't you mean cause stun? And I'm like, oh man, fucking Shadowfax, just show us the meaning of cause stun. And like, fuck's sake, they're taking the piss out of me.
I made a joke that does it mean whenever like Gandalf has got to tell Shadowfax just like walk at a slow pace, he's just gonna be like, oh Shadowfax, show us the meaning of a gentle trot. But yeah, I love as well how just when he does arrive at Minas Tirith, he is just mowing people down in the street to get to the top of the city.
Make way!
People only just get out of the way.
Yeah, fair enough. Move.
I love the scene where Hugo Weaving comes to visit Aragorn in the tent. And first of all, there's like a slow-mo like reveal of Hugo Weaving lifting his like hood. You're like, oh, it's Hugo Weaving. And then there's the bit where he just reveals the sword and pulls it out, and it's like the coolest thing. So you get 2 fucking cool reveals from below that exact same cloak within about 2 minutes.
What I love is how
good cloak.
He has just like walked up to this like random encampment of soldiers. It's just like, oh yeah, could you take me to like, you know, it's the big important tent, please? And he's just got a big sword under his cloak. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, he probably just showed them the fact that, like, hey guys, I'm an elf, you know. Apparently we're a big fucking deal around these parts, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know.
It's still pretty funny. Man, I love
Yeah.
I love that sword. What's it called?
Is it Elendil?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a deal formed from the shards of Narsil.
yeah. Just it looks really cool, and the way he pulls it out, he has the sword is being given to him, and he like flips it around and like pulls it out, and it's really cool. It's really long as well. I think it's a
It's
long
a
sword.
hand-and-a-half sword.
Oh, okay. A bastard sword, as you might say. Like
Yeah,
Ethan's
or
nan.
I don't know. Do you know,
That's a classic.
I think his
That's
first
dumb,
was, I don't know. There's, I don't know if it's the actual prop they had in the film or or just in like another version of it, but there is in Leeds, in the Royal Armouries, amongst all these, you know, real swords and weapons, there just is a segment which has the swords from Lord of the Rings.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they are very accurate sword and weapon recreations like throughout the entire film, except for one thing. And I want to know if anyone else has seen the same video I have, where they fucking point it out. Does anyone know the one weapon that's just fucking ridiculous?
What? No.
No, what weapon are you on about?
The fucking Witch King of Angmar's hammer thing. It's stupidly big. It's like there's
Yeah.
if you like look at an actual mace, you'll see it's maybe golf ball sized in the end. I don't know, maybe tennis ball. And the fact that it's just like this fucking rock that's like bigger than your head that he just swings around with one arm. It's like, man, I get that he's strong, but the talk on that, you know, it's just funny that it's against all the other like dead on recreations of medieval weaponry.
Yeah, but it's still also in that battle, like chunks of architecture are being chucked by trebuchets. Like it's not.
I mean, well, those are just big rocks, though, right? That's what trebuchets normally throw, right? Unless I'm going crazy.
If you look at the scale of what those trebuchets are chucking, it looks like pieces of masonry, like all put together. You never see them reload because there is no way they manage to fire like more than one shot.
Oh,
I love how Dan Cooper like immediately like the second they start attacking, he's like, abandon your post!
I love that. Gandalf just thwacks him in the face and is like, nah, stand and fight. There's another moment I love, which is Gandalf's speech to the Gondor soldiers saying, no matter what comes through that door,
that's great.
You hold your ground, you are Gondor soldiers. And then it's three trolls
really
and
cool.
they're all like, fuck.
Gandalf's face is like, oh, okay. I don't know.
Like,
Oh, we also need to talk about Grond, the big like battering ram that they're just like, oh, we need to bring out Grond, and then they all start chanting Grond.
Yeah.
Grond. I love it.
I said to Ethan, I hoped that they got the berserker back from the second one, but just a bigger berserker, like just a giant berserker. And he's like, they start hitting him with like the arrows, and he just keeps going. My favorite character from the second film.
Berserker.
He's so good.
Do you remember that moment in the Battle of Minas Tirith where Gandalf just pulls Pippin like to one side and they have like a really deep moment together?
They chat about death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
I think that's right about the time that he gets his staff broken in the extended edition, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before, I want to say.
The scene after that is he's sort of he's running with Pippin and then meets the Witch King.
They added a lot of scenes of Gandalf and Pippin talking actually. Yeah. There was a lot of kind of.
There's a lot of them running.
Have a good chemistry.
That I think wasn't in the theatrical version. We haven't talked about the best edition though, the Mouth of Sauron.
For fuck's sake.
So good. We have to talk about it.
Alright, it's your thing. Go on.
Oh no, they've died. They're gone.
Well, the mouth of Sauron has been fucking decapitated, I guess, by Aragorn. Do we vamp? So, Mouth of Sauron. Harry.
Oh no.
So anyway,
Hey.
how you been? Do you keep recording, Harry?
Yeah, we did.
Alright, so anyway. Mouth of Sauron.
That was
Yeah.
the Mouth of Sauron covered.
Yes! We've done it! We can move on!
Alright, let me take a note of this time. So yeah, the Mouth of Sauron. It's a good scene. Basically, Viggo Mortensen has an Irish accent. Hey, Lord of Blackline, come forth! And then through the gate comes the Mouth of Sauron. Gandalf. I'm doing that voice.
That's a pretty good impression, to be fair.
He shows them the armor saying Frodo's dead. And then you get the very funny, like, Frodo, quiet. No! Cut. Which is great. And then you get the beheading. And then you get the line from the prequels. I guess that concludes negotiations. And then they ride back. And it completely changes the meaning of the final fight. which in the theatrical version you believe is a last-ditch effort to help Frodo destroy the ring. But in this version, it is them doing a suicide mission because Frodo is dead and they're just killing themselves.
I mean, they say they don't believe it, right?
Yeah.
So I suppose, but still, I think I like the theatrical version more.
The fact it
because-
leads the fucking it open to interpretation that for Frodo line could mean that it's like a suicide mission is like reason enough for the Mouth of Sauron being one of the worst editions in the extended version.
I don't know. Like he's pointless. I'll give him that, but I do like his addition. I like.
It is a cool helmet.
It's not. Yeah,
It's a well designed character, definitely.
Yeah, I like his
His
design.
teeth.
And
Ugh.
although you guys find the editing funny, I feel like it gives him a lot of presence in that scene.
Yes,
I
definitely.
enjoy what they do with him in that 3 minutes that he's there.
It's very
I don't know. I think it's more when it's like you've got like a shot of Ian McKellen, like one of the greatest actors of the generation, looking incredibly emotional, and then you just cut to a mouth going ah, like it's quite jarring. I just want to say about these special edition scenes. It's really weird because whenever it's a subtle thing, but when you're watching the special edition, you just know when it's one of the special edition scenes. I don't know what it is, if the effects weren't finished or the backgrounds aren't kind of up to par.
It's something kind of unpolished
Yeah.
about the look of the clips.
But it will just suddenly be like, it looks amazing, and then there's just a minute that it doesn't look
Like,
right.
for instance, I think if the theatrical version, when you just have the ghosts going through Vigo, when they're going onto, I guess, the plains of Gondor, it looks just fine. But then for some reason, in the extended version, when you watch another time where they pass through him, it just looks really off, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely the backgrounds and some of the lighting. It's just something off about it, which I don't mind too much. I just found, because when I watched the Fellowship version, it was less jarring. Does that make sense? Yeah, but I mean, my problem with the Return of the King, even though I haven't said that many good things about it, because everyone else has been saying all the good points, I think it's too long. I know that it's obviously a big book and there's a lot of things to conclude, but the others are 3 hours, right? Or just under. And this is 3:15, 3:20. And you really, I mean, you can have all those endings if you've wrapped it up before at this point, but those endings really start to drag. I mean, for me, you can stop watching when the Return of the King happens. Aragorn becomes king. They bow down to the hobbits. I feel like that's a good way to end it. I like the idea of going back to the Shire and nothing's the same. But when you have them going back to the Shire, you've got that really awful scene where Merry and Pippin are like, "Oh, can't believe that Sam's asked Rosie out." You get that scene, which is not great in itself. And then you have Frodo going back, writing the book, and then Frodo going on a boat and sailing away, which definitely that
I do
should
like
be
the
the end.
the tragic goodbye to Frodo and Gandalf.
I get that, but then to go on even longer, like that is when you're taking the piss. To not end there, but to end on Sam going home.
Yeah, but in fairness, it's only maybe a minute more, and Sam is the true hero of the story, so it should
That's
end
true.
on him.
Yeah,
Yes,
but it's when you faded to black like 4 times already.
They
and
could
like,
have
you're
not
already
done a
pushing
fade
your
to
luck.
black, to be fair.
Yeah, like it's the multiple fades. It's the way the music like comes to a crescendo, and then we'll just start up again. It's like it's actually funny. Like,
I mean, to be fair, I guess it makes sense because the film is meant to the trilogy is meant to feel like a fucking like epic journey. Like even ending the film should be like an ordeal, you know.
But like, Endgame has as many endings. But the thing with Endgame is it's 3 hours, including credits. Because it's like shorter in its runtime, I feel like the endings are less like grating. Whereas because this film takes exactly 3 hours and then decides to start with the endings, I don't know. It does feel its length for me. And it makes me not enjoy the film less because it's like I start checking my watch on this one. Whereas the other ones, I feel like I'm swept up in it, but they barely feel like 3 hours.
With Endgame, they did cut out one of their endings. They cut out the scene where everyone kneels at fucking Tony Stark when he's dead, and I'm like,
that's not
that's
a good
good.
scene. Though. Like the
it's good that they cut it
Gamora
out.
walking away.
Oh,
I'm glad they cut it.
man.
Yeah.
Man.
I think I very rarely see a deleted scene. I think that should stay in. The only one I've ever thought is there's a deleted scene in Aliens where Ripley gets told that her daughter's dead. which is like the thematic point of that film about she's trying to become a mother again with Newt. And literally
in the original version, that scene's not
yeah,
there.
which kind of ruins her character up. But pretty much every other deleted scene in like most films, I often feel like, yeah, I see why this was cut.
Yeah, and I do feel that with Return of the King. But at the same time, I don't know. I like seeing what they were. But
Like I get the purpose of it is for fans, right? It's to give the fans like more world building and like a few things that like don't really make sense, but you won't notice because it's a 3.5 hour film. Like the fact that they just show up on a boat, they explain that they don't need to. But if you want to watch exactly the same scene happen like twice, you can, you know.
But you should watch the Two Towers extended edition though.
Okay, I think I will.
In. Yeah, so
as long as like they don't add like 10 minutes to Helm's Deep, because Helm's Deep's like pretty much the perfect length, I feel.
Yeah, I think Helm's Deep is about as long as it was before, but it adds in. So, like, do you hear much of how Theoden's son is dead in the theatrical edition of Two Towers?
I don't remember, to be honest. No, I don't think you do.
Yeah, I think you might have like a line like kind of dealing with that, but that's one of the big things of him like kind of waking up from his sort of being manipulated is he has to now deal with the fact that his son is dead, and that's a big like powerful emotional moment that I think it says a lot about his thing. But anyway, I think the main one though is for Faramir. When he first reveals that Boromir was his brother, you have a flashback to the last time he saw Boromir alive, which sets up beautifully the dynamic between him, Boromir, and Denethor, and also the whole sort of journey that Faramir goes through as a character. Like it's a brilliant sort of two bits where. Basically Denethor comes and is like, hey, Elrond's just called, we need to send someone to go there. I'm only going to send my best son, that's Boromir, you get off, do that. Faramir's like, nah, I should do this. Boromir needs to, defend the country. I can go and do this. And then Denethor is just like, time for Faramir to show his quality. I think not. And, just shits on him even more.
Damn. Stop being such a dick.
Fucking Denethor, am I right?
And then you have, so that's sort of what pushes him so much to try and take the ring from Frodo and take that to Gondor. And so you have a scene where he then lets Frodo and Sam leave, like shows them the way out of Osgiliath, and Sam turns to Faramir and goes, this shows the quality of Faramir, and then leaves, and it's just, so brilliant. Adds a thing to like Faramir's whole journey.
Yeah, that is cool. I think the extended Fellowship gives you a lot more Boromir content as well, which kind of makes his death more emotional. I felt anyway. Do you think we should start kind of wrapping it up, because I feel like we could talk about these films forever, really.
Yeah, they're quite hefty.
Picking every moment that we like. Taking on time.
Lord of the Rings minute, God, please no.
There is one.
You still listening, John?
Yeah, I stopped. It's where I know some of my stuff, but yeah, no, I stopped listening to that a while ago. I think I might go back though. It's part of the reason they were the ones that made me want to watch the extended edition, but especially for because I think it's only in the extended edition the salted pork is especially whatever. I don't know, just Merry and Pippin just like at the ruins of.
I mean, they do show off the salted pork to Gimli. They do say that they're enjoying the spoils of victory, which is quite nice.
All of those Gimli comedy moments, with him being drunk, him on the skulls. Oh my god, I'm glad they got this. Jesus Christ, they were bad.
Yeah, I can't believe they had a bit where they were just like, let's make it Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I suppose just everyone except Gimli and Legolas. Like, Gimli kind of, but kind of goes on like an emotional journey where there's that pair is just there to be the cool and funny, like, straight man, fucking wacky person, like comedy duo. just to, I suppose it's good to have a break, but and not saying I want another ending, but they're just like, well, at the end they're like, well, glad we did that adventure. Guess we
Legolas
go.
has like not many moments at all. I mean, how many lines does he actually speak in the film? Really,
Not much. I mean, he does have the coolest moment when he fucking kills that big elephant though.
Oh, no, I see. Personally, I don't like that moment. I feel like it's like he's quite kind of like in the first one he's like pretty cool, and the second one like he's doing some like even like crazier things, like he's riding down on that surfboard.
On the
I'm like, oh, yeah,
shield.
this is still believable. But then when he becomes like plastic and starts jumping up and down, sliding, I'm just like, okay, like they've gone too far within it. This is like. This is a bit much.
It still only counts as one line. Come on.
It is a great.
If
line.
it didn't have that, it wouldn't be as good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the payoff to that entire sequence. But God, I think him sliding off the elephant is akin to Daniel Kaluuya riding a rhino in Black Panther in just like a very stupid CGI kind of animal thing.
I think it demonstrates how capable Legolas is, but it still looks goofy in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, it's also like, I don't know, it's such a power increase from the last time we've seen him on screen, where he still was like limited by the amount of like arrows he could like shoot. I don't know. It kind of comes. I get why they did it. It definitely, this one's definitely a lot more like video gamey in its use of special effects and like giant fights of like unimaginable proportions, which I guess some people will enjoy that more than Helm's Deep, but for me, I think I just prefer the visceral kind of sweat and I don't know, metal clashing on metal that Helm's Deep has versus this one where it's like impossible to really comprehend what's going on because there's just a big field, so many like angles to it. You know?
No, I mean Helm's Deep, I guess it has sort of less angles, but it still just is like massively over the top. Just like, oh, there's 10,000 of them. Like,
yeah,
it does
I think
feel a lot
Helm's Deep
different.
is very like well structured though, where it's obviously like been scripted really well. Where like suddenly the camera will pan, the conflict will now be they're coming up on this side, and it's them dealing with that conflict, and then suddenly it kind of feels like they're more being like overwhelmed in the way that battle is structured.
And I feel like you understand the geography quite well, and where the action's happening relative to that.
But Minas Tirith, there's just suddenly like the dragons just start swooping in, and it's like I get if you prefer just the scale of it, like the end gameness, like I can't even comprehend all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
Whereas Helm's Deep has the
helps.
wall, and they're defending the wall, and then there's a gate, and they're trying to get through the gate, and then it's as simple as that, folks.
Yeah, whereas you have got like a fucking 9 layers of Minas Tirith.
Yeah, like when like they break through, when I've seen this film so many times, I'm always like, they can do it. They've got there, and then Gandalf just goes to the second layer. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't realize that was a thing that they had. Like maybe a bit of
That's
stuff.
how citadels do work, though. It's
It
like
is true.
You've
Yeah.
got many
There's the
layers
base layer, and
of
then you go up.
Like an onion.
Shoot like that.
Like an
It is
ogre.
quite-
You just that line always makes me laugh because I forget that like it keeps going on for long.
I think one of the things where it's helped that I have played through that so many times with the little Game Boy game I mentioned before, just being Gandalf going through all those layers, like doing a lot of those fights. I also like in that game, you don't tell Pippin to light the beacons, you go and do it yourself.
It's Gandalf.
Which you have to go to 3 different beacons and light them. And then whilst Minas Tirith is under siege, quite weirdly.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
did you ever play The Fellowship of the Ring on the Game Boy?
So that's I have. That's different in the way it sort of runs. It's more of a sort of pause time, pick your attacks. But yeah,
It's a turn-based combat game, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Turn-based combat. Yeah.
Because I actually had that on my Game Boy, and I used to play it so often, but I only had the first game for some reason. So I'm not entirely sure how Return of the King runs in terms of
the
gameplay.
next 2 are quite different. So you're it's just a hack and slash. So you're one character going around and attacking. So you get to pick through quite a few different characters that have like subtly different quests depending on different journeys depending on who you pick. So with Return of the King, the main character I played it through is Gandalf, just because his attack cycle is the most overpowered, because he swings around his sword and his staff and just kills people in like a massive circle around him.
Oh my god, that sequence where it's so obviously not Ian McKellen swinging the sword and stuff. I love that. That's a lot of fun.
I like that as well. At least the coordination of that. But what really impressed me is seeing that was just how well this Game Boy game encapsulates that movement he does. That is the fighting you do as him. Anyway, yeah. So you have one where you're Gandalf, and so you do all of that. There's also one where you're like Eowyn, and so you sort of are her kind of mopping up in Rohan and then traveling along with the army to get to Minas Tirith. Yeah.
I think the real Lord of the Rings video game moment that we need to appreciate, getting to see on the screen though in this one, is of course it's Denethor as he runs across burning in flames.
Okay.
I couldn't help but think about that in that scene.
So I dislike that shot. Do you guys like the shot in the film? Because me and Ethan keep arguing as to if it's good. I think it's like the goofiest fucking thing of all time.
And I think it looks really awesome how there's this
I
kind
hate
of
it.
person on fire who just jumps off the edge of Minas Tirith and then it just completely pans out. I think that's really good.
I think it kind of makes sense. I wouldn't say it's over the top goofy.
It's just
I think
such a
it's-
long run for him to be on fire. And it's it's the
That's
epic
true, but he was
battle
covered in oil, right?
That just makes it I don't know. I feel like
oil on himself.
God.
Yeah.
I am hating on this film a lot. I feel like for a film I really like.
Yeah, are we ready to slap some numbers on this bad boy?
Can I go first? Because I feel like I've been unfair.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just because I hear so much that this is the best one.
And you did pick this trilogy as well, so it makes sense for you.
I think this is the one trilogy that someone else actually picked.
Yeah,
No,
this is my pick.
Yeah.
Oh, so I
Okay.
thought the Spaghetti Westerns was the one where it was me, and then Harry kind of dished out the other three because he assumed that one of you would pick
we
Lord of
were
the
always
Rings.
going to do Lord of the Rings because it was I think it's going to be the highest scoring one because they're all so of a high quality and they're pretty much the same film continued because it's completely the same production process. And I think that this is my least favourite, but like I say, the order does change very often, and it has been my favourite at times. But yeah, at the moment, I'm not feeling this one as much. But I still think that the music is great, the attention to detail and the production design brilliant. Everything comes together to make this kind of an incredibly cohesive trilogy, and it's very satisfying to see the payoff, to see Frodo and Sam's bromance that I wish was a romance come to fruition. I may carry you, that great moment. I love the way this opens with the live action Andy Serkis. I think we haven't talked about that scene, but the transition before he becomes CGI Gollum, when it's still Andy Serkis in all the makeup, as Gollum, is terrifying. That
Yeah.
image. I love the way this opens.
Yeah, it's halfway between Hobbit, but human and monster is just really disconcerting to see.
Yeah, I really like that scene. I really like this trilogy. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Just like all the rest, it's like the Halo trilogy. They're all 9s. But yeah, like I say, I think for the moment this remains my least favorite. If it was 20 minutes shorter, it might be a different story. Alright, who wants to go
I
next?
was gonna say, what I realized from watching it the other day is it's just a film I enjoy, and so I can't really analyze it critically as such. I just like it, and watching more of it, even if it's bad scenes, I still love. So it's gonna be a 10 from me.
Well done.
Am I allowed to retroactively change scores for
Yeah, you can do it
previous
the fuck you
ones?
want.
Who cares?
Yeah, because I'm after seeing the extended edition of Two Towers, I'm gonna bump that up to a 10 as well.
Oh, so Fellowship's your least favourite?
Yeah,
No, Fellowship's
It's-
the best one.
this is the one where the least happens.
I don't know. I think the you've got that
It's
great
one-
moment where he angrily looks at Merry and Pippin, which
It's one of the better paced ones. It feels very, very snappy, the first one.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I like these too much to be affected by pace, is what I have learned.
Fair enough.
I can sit through 4 hours of a film and just be like, oh yeah, that was nice, that was fun.
Yeah, I feel
Fair
like
enough.
the Fellowship of the Ring is probably the most standalone one, whereas the second and third one are very similar in a lot of ways. They kind of feel more I guess, glued together than the first one does.
I guess the first one's got to kind of introduce audiences, and it's very simple in that way. But the 2 and 3 can just go crazy because they know people are in now, so they can bring in more elements from the books. Whereas the first, I guess, plays it more safe.
Well, I think it's more just the scale of the journey, because it's just one cohesive like move of, oh, it's Frodo moving someplace, now there's some more people with him, now there's some more people with him, now there's even more people with him, and then it ends with the end of the Fellowship.
Yeah, I think it feels like an
Two
adventure.
Towers and Return of the King, it's following like 3 different stories, or more at a time, that are going on, that all end up coalescing at the end of this. Well, I say at the end of this film. The hour before the end of this film. But yeah, so I sounded like I was going to say more, but that was the end of my point.
I think when we're rating these films, all we are really rating is A. Howard Shore's music, which is the only reason they're good. It's just like Star Wars. It's just the music is the only reason we think they're good. And B, it's the country of New Zealand and how many great sweeping shots of New Zealand we get, and that's why Fellowship's the best one, because we see the most of New Zealand.
Yeah. Those films are really an advertisement pack for that country more than anything.
Yeah, I get why Peter Jackson really pushed to kind of, because like I get that Peter Jackson reading the books and like growing up in New Zealand, he must have equated Middle Earth and his country in his head, and I love that he's been able to bring his vision to the screen, even though he did have to use the Weinstein's blood money to do it, to bring his childhood dreams to the big screen, and make so many more people who can't get through fucking Tom Bombadil to experience the joys of what the Lord of the Rings has to offer.
Yeah, I'll go third, I guess. I do not know which ones of these I would rank the best. I think they're all. I feel like one of them, or maybe 2 of them, I would bump to a 10. But I don't know which of them. Like, I just cannot think about it at the moment. My head is too fucking filled with fade to blacks whenever I try and think of anything. So I'll leave this at a 9, and I'll say one of them could be a 10. I think all of them have something unique going for them, even though they feel like, again, like such a consistent, cohesive story. And I think just the scale of this one is really cool, and the way it has a lot of neat parallels to early things happening that have been set up in the other 2, and a lot of cool, epic triumphant moments and climaxes. It's all fun all around. So yeah, 9 out of 10. I'll leave it there for now.
I'm gonna have to match Tony on that one. I think a 9. 10 is probably what I'd give it as well. I think, having rewatched this third one, I have a similar thing with Harry. Actually, maybe not quite as similar, but I think Return of the King was my favourite for the longest time, just because it was an amazing conclusion to a really, really great trilogy of films. And I think it did have the most scope and the most epicness, I guess, for lack of a better word. But interestingly enough, I think Fellowship of the Ring has surpassed it a little bit. I think I really, really enjoyed rewatching it last year, and when we talked about it, I guess it's not really simple, but there is a simplicity there with someone trying to get from point A to point B, and then having a group, and then I guess the arc of that individual story completing with the group disbanding and having to go their separate ways, and I think that's really, really good. Whereas 2 Towers is kind of a stepping stone to get to the third film. So I think that's probably my least favourite. But yeah, I'd still give it a 9. I still think it's, for what it is, it's very entertaining. 4 hours.
Guys, do we do another ending gag for this one? Because I feel like there's a very obvious one to make.
Johnny, do you
keep faking out the ending?
Johnny, do you have the spreadsheet up?
Yeah.
Can you tell us which trilogy is the best?
Well, it's definitely Lord of the Rings, just because, well, Return of the King is the film highest rated on 37. Then the next highest is Fellowship of the Ring on 36, and The Last Crusade on 36. And then 2 Towers has got 35, so is joint third with Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it's definitely the Lord of the Rings.
Alright, I might do some equal sums to work out which trilogy is the best.
Look.
What's everyone's favourite line from the trilogy, and why are both of them in the two towers being break the dam, release the river, and looks like meat's back on the menu, boys?
One of my favourite lines that sticks in my head is when Elrond says, "I was there when the strength of men failed," talking about the last time the ring was cast into the fire. I just think it's really dramatic and sets up the stakes quite well.
Another
fact
of my
that-
favourite Elrond lines is just "men are weak." And I like to imagine that whenever he's just there in a room and he ever has to like talk about men or is near a man, he just says "men are weak."
I think my favourite line is, well, I don't know if it's my favourite line, but it's the only one that I can really think of right now, and that might be just because we've already mentioned it, and it is a really good line, and it's just Eowyn saying, "I am no man."
Ah!
Yeah,
Sorry.
of course, every dramatic speech that Aragorn does, you know.
Yeah, they're
It's-
good. I guess
or
Theoden's
Gandalf.
speech before they're about to attack on Gondor is also excellent as well, right? Death!
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 I always thought they were saying "yeah" in that moment until I had a subtitle and I realised it was death.
Yeah!
Because it sounds like "yeah."
Mouth!
Alright, we gotta keep making the podcast go on, Tony. If you want to do this joke.
I don't know. I mean, would it be funny enough?
You get off my earphones, please.
I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. Has anyone else got anything to say about the trilogies that we've done? Now this entire series has come to an end.
You got
No,
your
not really.
good things, and I've got
Tony,
mine.
do you think
Yeah.
it's a net positive or negative, this entire podcast?
This podcast? I think...
The fact that you've
I mean-
seen some of these films, you've seen one of his favourite films, you've seen The Godfather.
Yeah,
films.
yeah, it has been fun overall. I feel like Quad-Trilogy, for some reason, even though only being 12 episodes, felt like it's taken like 4 years to do. But
He's got-
probably has, actually. That's not that
Yeah.
far off, I want to say.
It's because we
Um,
should have just watched them like done one a week, but instead we've made it
Yeah.
last for months.
Yeah,
and
so it's
months.
been like, oh fuck, when did I fucking watch Fellowship of the Ring? Oh my
You should
god.
never have given an organising rights to Tony, Harry. That was your fault.
That was weird. Okay,
Oh, we're
here we go.
doing it now, aren't we, Ethan?
So the best trilogy
Come
that we've
on.
done is Lord of the
Step
Rings
off.
with 108 points overall.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, and then next is this original Star Wars trilogy with 100 points. And then next
Damn.
is the Spaghetti Westerns with 95 points. Next is Indiana Jones with 92. And then in last place is the Godfather trilogy with 87 points.
I can't believe Spaghetti Westerns beat Indiana Jones. That's just made my day.
Well, Temple of Doom ruined
Yeah.
it.
I guess
Remember,
that is true.
pretty much every trilogy apart from Lord of the Rings has its weak one. And Temple of Doom was really low rated. It's definitely the worst thing we did in this. I think we gave it a 21 overall. And the only other things that got in the 20s was the first Godfather, which got 29, and the third Godfather, which got 27. And I'm
Did
sure
you
when
lower,
Tony...
did you lower my Godfather scores?
No,
Both
but
by-
you did give Godfather Part 2 an 8, which is obviously not
Oh
true.
yeah, no, fucking 6 and 5 in reverse order for the first two Godfathers.
Wait, the
Actually,
second
no.
one's 5.
No, second one's 6, first one's 5.
Alright. So yeah, that lowers it even more. So it's the most definitive bad thing we've done. There we go. There we go. 83 overall now for The Godfather.
It's alright. That one's alright.
At least you guys have seen it.
Yeah, at least I know what people are fucking talking about. Anyway, that concludes the first part of our conclusion for concluding. He stopped it. We're done. We're free. Alright, thanks for watching.
Goodbye. It's just me now.